Hey guys, you're watching the Dota Weekly Show, your source of news, mechanics, and whatever else that's interesting. This week we're going to talk about the World Dota Championship, the possibility of EHome disbanding. We're also going to take a look at some of the newly sponsored Dota2 teams. For the mechanics corner, we'll take a look at attack speed and why that is important to our early and the late game phase. And for the interesting happening of the show, I'll talk a little bit about the beta key giveaway and also give you guys a hint on that riddle. And also we're going to talk about some new Dota players and how I might be able to help them out. So without further ado, let's go on to the Dota Weekly Show.
It's a Dota Weekly Show!
Yay! Hey guys, today's November 16th, 2011. I'm Luminous, your host of the Dota Weekly Show. And let's get right into news. World Dota Championship just finished last weekend. And number 1 to 4, the winning teams are DK, Panda, IG.Y, and Nirvana China. DK taking number 1, nothing too out of the ordinary. They are only the best Chinese team in the past 3 months, undisputedly. So, you know, not a big surprise there. Number 2 was Panda, and I actually want to talk about them for a bit because, you know, all the other Chinese teams are pretty well known. You know, they have some Western media coverage from Gosu Gamer, or, you know, Play Dota forums, but not really Panda. I mean, they haven't been really involved in any like flaming controversies. They haven't been bought out for 6 million. You know, they haven't been really involved in that kind of thing. So I'm gonna give them a shout out. Hopefully, when the WDC replays are out, we kind of get an idea of why they're so strong. We know they're, you know, really good, and they're taking number 2 in WDC, but we don't know their personality. We don't know, you know, what's behind it, what's behind this Panda tag, right? So hopefully we'll get to know a little bit more about them. And yeah, once the WDC replays are out, we will be casting it. Now, these 4 teams I just mentioned, DK, Panda, IG.Y, and Nirvana China, they will be going to SMM in December, and they're gonna be representing China as the 4 Chinese teams in SMM. You might be thinking, well, wasn't EHome the champion in 2010, and shouldn't they get to go? Well, they were invited, yes they were, but bad news, EHome might be either disbanding or changing the roster up like huge, big time. So considering that they're not going to go to SMM at all, I'm assuming that they have moved on to Dota 2 or they're disbanding. In either case, it's sad news. Like, it's sad news. EHome's been my favorite team since 2010. Sad to see A20 go, and now they're not even going to SMM. So, big tears. But there's 4 Chinese teams in their place, and hopefully, most likely, in my imagination, that one of these Chinese teams will be taking number 1 SMM as well. And that is probably the last biggest Dota 1 international LAN there is. Yep, that's pretty much it for Dota 1 tournament news. Now, for Dota 2, some of the news that, if you've been paying attention to Gosu Gamer in the past 2 weeks or so, we have a couple big teams being sponsored. Of course, EG sponsoring, you know, Fear, Demon, Playmate. You know, we're pretty familiar with that team, and they went to WDC as well. Performance was, you know, lackluster, but big sponsor. Fnatic sponsored 4GL. We had Monkey Business being sponsored by SK Gaming. So these are, you know, these goes back to old school era days of Dota. These names should really be familiar for you guys old school competitive watchers out there. So they're back in the Dota 2 scene. And for, you know, on one side I'm like really happy, like, you know what, more sponsors, more money in the scene, more games, more hype, all good things, right? So on one side I'm really happy. On the other side I was like, I don't know. Are the players ready for this? Players not like you and I players. Are the professional players ready for this? And the reason I quote on this, it's like, because back in Dota 1, you know, Western professional teams aren't really professional. And I know, like, I'm probably offending a lot of people out there, professional players included, but, you know, we definitely had a lot of scandals. We had a lot, you know, there was map hacks going on. There is players not showing up on time in terms of, like, tournament matches. And I know I'm just talking about, you know, a very few % of, you know, professional player altogether, but those are the kind of stuff that I remember, the bad things. And I'm just wondering, in general, are the Western professional players, or in Eastern, are all the professional players ready for this kind of thing? Are they ready for commitment? I'm so like I'm handing my daughter away to a guy or something. Are they ready for commitment? Are they ready to take time out of their life and have this as a responsibility? Because to me, really what professional player means is like a job. It's like a job where you kind of put it pretty high on your priority list. You don't put your friend's birthday party on top of that. You don't put, like, you know, a night out with a girl. Well, maybe you put a night out with a girl on top of that. But you guys get what I'm saying, right? There's a sense of professionalism involved. And it's great on one hand that these teams are getting sponsored. But as a whole, you know, are the professional players ready for this? I don't know. I'm being a little bit skeptical. Do you guys think so? Let me know. I actually would be really curious of what the, you know, general response of what you guys would think. Are they ready? You tell me. Okay, so that's pretty much it for Dota 2 news as well. There is going to be DreamHack, which is going to be end of this month. And also there's going to be a Dota 2 LAN starting December as well. As it rolls around towards those dates, I'll give you guys more information on that. So, but keep your thoughts on those. So pretty much it for the news for this week. And let's move on to mechanics. Alright, for this week's mechanic, we'll talk about attack speed. And as you would imagine, attack speed is basically how quickly your heroes attack. There's basically one formula that you could figure out your attack speed, but there's two variations of the formula. The first formula is how many attacks you could do per second. The second formula, which is basically just a direct inverse of the first one, is basically how many seconds does it take for you to do one attack. As you can see, they kind of both relate. IAS stands for increase in attack speed, and the ways to increase your IAS is through items such as Glove of Haste, Hyperstone, through skills such as Beastmaster Aura, or just through raw agility. Every single point of agility will give you an extra point of attack speed. What BAT stands for is basic attack time, and most heroes in Dota have a basic attack time of 1.7, and we're going to stick to that. Now there are some heroes that have lower basic attack time, such as Lycanthrope Wolf form, such as Anti-Mage, such as Chemical form Alchemist. We're not going to spend too much time on these heroes since it's so rare. But one thing that you can know about these lower BAT heroes is that basically any type of direct increase in attack speed, item skills, or agility points will benefit them more compared to a standard 1.7 BAT hero. Let's just leave it at that as we go back kind of to the standard, you know, basic attack time of 1.7. Now, you don't need a Dota Weekly Show mechanics to tell you that having more attack speed is always better. You would have, you know, more chances to crit, you have more chances to bash and all that stuff. But there are a couple of interesting mechanics that you should know. For one, you could only have a maximum cap of plus 400 increase attack speed. Now that might sound like a big number, but for a lot of agility heroes that, you know, max out on agility in the late game situation where you get a lot of attack speed or just agility items in general, you will actually go into that plus 400 barrier sometimes. So that's something to worry about. If you have a lot of attack speed already, probably don't need to get some, you know, too much. If you already have a lot of attack speed, you probably don't want to get items that give you more attack speed because you don't want to break that 400 barrier. Now, speaking of late game situation, one of the best way to increase your DPS output is to get attack speed. For example, let's imagine this scenario. You're doing basically 300 damage every single hit, but you want to increase your damage output by 50%. So you can buy another 150 damage, but that's going to cost you a lot. Another way to increase your damage output by 50% is, hey, basically buy enough attack speed that will increase your attack speed by 50%. And a lot of times a single Hyperstone will suffice that need. That's why a lot of agility heroes in late game situation always love to get Butterfly, because not only does it increase your damage, you increase your agility and also attack speed. And you get so much bonuses up there, and that's why I personally really prefer Maelstrom or Monair, because it gives you a lot of attack speed. And that's going to increase your DPS by a lot as well. Now, increased attack speed is what we're very, very familiar with. Let's look at the other side of the spectrum, lowering your enemy's attack speed. And lowering your enemy's attack speed in the early outset of the game, I'm talking about, you know, before maybe 10 to 15 minutes, it is so good in terms of preventing auto attacks, preventing attacks in general. And you cannot underestimate how minus AS does so much. So after looking at these numbers, it encouraged me thinking a little bit of different ways of playing some of these heroes. For example, Enchantress, maybe put him in a solo mid position and get a couple of levels untouchable. That was definitely the way to play her back in 6.5's X era, and now she's predominantly played as a jungler. Or Lich taking an early level of Frost Armor, or Tuskar taking an early level of Frozen Sigil. I mean, these are possible choices, and after looking at these numbers, I actually would want to try them out, so that's pretty cool. Now, of course, minus attack speed is all great and all, but you gotta also keep in mind that the early game phase is about nukes. You know, a lot of damage is done through the nukes, so that's something to consider as well. And minus attack speed does nothing for that. So if you're gonna take anything away from this week's mechanic, is that increased attack speed is one of the best ways to increase your damage in the late game situation, and lowering attack speed is one of the best ways in early game to lower the enemy's DPS output as well. Alright, that's it for the mechanics. Now, interesting happening of this week. I've been visiting a lot of, just forums in general, like Reddit, Play Dota, just general, random sites on the internet regarding Dota 2 and stuff. And one of the biggest thing I've noticed is like a lot of players are trying to get into Dota 2, which is great. But they're having some trouble. Some of these players haven't played Dota or any Dota variant at all. They just are interested in Dota 2 and they want to get in the game. That's cool. Some people play Han, some people play, LOL, and they want to get into Dota 2. That's great. But the thing about Dota 2 or just Dota in general, the learning curve, it's just so steep. I know they're adding, helping features, they're adding tutorials, but even so, like, the game is hard. There's freaking 100-something heroes that you have to learn. You have to play at least each hero once to kind of get a feel for the game. There's different item combinations, there's laning combinations, there's mechanics, there's a lot of stuff, you know what I'm saying? So, I kind of want to help people by getting better. Now, that's not me to say that I'm a professional player, I'm so good, let me help you guys. It's not like that. It's more like, well, I've been playing this game for a long time. I know there's a lot of new players that want to come into the game. I just want them to make their learning process a little bit smoother. So that's kind of where I'm coming at. And I personally don't know how to do it. There's a couple of things I thought about. So, kind of method number one is to make my commentaries a little bit more noob friendly. That sounds really bad. Like, newer player friendly. Okay, so basically what that means, like, explain what skills do, like, explain what fissure does, long range, stuns, and all that stuff. Explain why items are good. Don't assume that people know Blink Dagger is a core on Shaker. And just make it overall a little bit newer friendly. And I'm sure that would help newer players, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea because a good deal of my viewers have been playing Dota for a long time, and all those information they wouldn't find too helpful. I think a lot of my viewers really want the more in-depth strategical analysis. So I'm not too sure if changing my commentaries to changing up to a different style will be better. I don't know. So I'm not really onto that. Number two is making more guides. Of course I did a jungling guide, and I'm planning to do a hero focus guide. But do people want to sit around for an hour? Keep in mind, if you're newer players that just haven't played Dota at all, maybe they played 3-4 hours, do they want to sit around for an hour listening to me lecturing about a hero? This is this attack animation, this is the item you should get, this is the mechanic behind it, this is the skill build, this is what you do. Like, it's just so in-depth. And I think it would be great information. It's just I don't think it would help newer players because it's too much, it's overload. So I don't know if my guides would actually be helpful. So I don't know. Should I do guide? Number three is bring back DCDH. If you don't know what DCDH is, I actually had basically a Dota help series to help people just get better in Dota in general. But then I thought to myself, I already do DCDH every single week. It's called Dota Weekly Show Mechanics. I mean, it's not as applicable to the game, but I talk about something that's very in-depth in the game as well. And then I thought about all these 3 points again, and I'm like, what is the common aspect that all these 3 points would have? They help players that already know how to play the game to get better. They don't help a beginner player. If you watch commentary, if you have a basic, very general knowledge of the game, the commentary will help you to, get the item builds down, you get the skill builds down, you know what to do in different situations. If you have a general knowledge of the game, the hero focus guides or the whatever, jungling guide will get you better in certain aspect of the game, whether it's playing as certain heroes or playing in the jungle. If you have a general knowledge of the game, the mechanics portion will give you an in-depth analysis of the mechanic portion of the game. But if you don't have any knowledge of the game, like a new player would not have, those stuff would not help. So that's where I'm coming from right now. I want to help the new players, I just don't know how. So maybe if you guys are collectively a lot smarter than I am, give me some feedback. What do you guys think? How can I help the newer players? And again, it's not like, ooh, look at Luminous, he's so much better. But there's a lot of new players coming into Dota, and I want to help the Dota 2 scene grow. So I want to do something for it, and I I really don't know how. So you guys give me feedback on that, please. That would be really, really helpful. Okay, so that's a lot of ranting about really nothing. And okay, so before I close out the Dota Weekly Show for this week, let's talk about the beta keys. So last week I sent out 5 beta keys, and then I only got 2 replies back. So 3 people just like, oh, I don't want beta keys. I was like, okay. I'm gonna send out 3 PM again this week, and then check your name in the description box. If your name is under the description box, then check your PM box. You're gonna have a key waiting for you. So that's that. Also, a hint to the riddle, because no one have solved it yet. Yeah, no one have solved it yet. The hint is iambic pentameter. Did I pronounce that one? Iambic pentameter. Yes, that is a hint. If you don't know what that is, Google it and then look back to the riddle. Yeah, that is the hint. Again, you're looking for a pattern and you're guessing a skill name. And yeah, that's it. So, hope you guys enjoyed this week's Dota Weekly Show, and please give me some ideas on how I could help newer players improve, or just newer players to get in the game, not just improve, just get into the game. And also, let me know what you guys think. Are players ready enough to enter the professional Dota 2 scene? Let me know. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, this is Luminous signing off. See you guys.